Today on Larry King Now, actor, director, producer, composer, and my star, Andy Garcia. How do you view your career?
It's the exact career that I dreamed of. I wake up as a father first. You know, in some gigs, even though you want to do them, you can't be selfish and say, okay, I'll see you later, I'll see you in 4 months.
Do you dislike it when people say you're the most successful Hispanic actor ever?
I'm honored they would say that. I don't like hyphenations, though, because you're one of the greatest talk show hosts in the history of television, but you're not one of the greatest Jewish talk show hosts.
Plus,
I feel that it's been a chess game throughout many, many years where Castro always says, the embargo, the embargo, the embargo. If America would have lifted the embargo, he would have no one to point his finger at.
All ahead on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now, special guest, old friend, and terrific star, Andy Garcia, the Academy Award and Golden Globe nominated actor, also director, producer, and composer. You know him from his roles in movies like The Godfather Part 3, The Untouchables, When a Man Loves a Woman, and Oceans 11, 12, and 13, maybe even Oceans 14. Now starring alongside Michael Pitt and Ray Romano in a terrific film, Rob the Mob. It'll be in theaters on Friday, March 21st. I saw it today. You ought to be very proud of this. It's a lot of fun. You have fun making it?
We had a lot of fun. You know, anytime you make a movie, Larry, that's sort of an independent movie, you're sort of on your own out there, you know, so there's nobody really cares you're making the movie. And people who come to go through this experience are there for a reason, which is to tell the story, you know, and you're kind of on your own. It's a true story. It's a true story based on a young couple who decided to start robbing the Mafia social clubs. The boy, played by Michael Pitt, had a personal agenda because of a history that the mob had with his dad. So it was kind of a revenge thing for him. But you can imagine the shenanigans when they rob a social club. And
it's very funny.
It's very funny, it's very touching, it's romantic.
And you play a Bonanno chief.
I play the head of the Bonanno family, and my social clubs are the ones that are being robbed.
Did your character based on a true person?
It's based on it's inspired by a true person. We changed the name because we kind of changed some things in his story to explore the sort of the conceit of the mob boss maybe in a different way, something that people hadn't seen before.
But the Gotti name is left in, the Gotti trial.
Yeah, the Gotti trial, that's all historically correct, yeah.
Why did you decide to wear a beard?
Well, we wanted to really accentuate him more as a sort of a grandfather of a man, of a domestic individual, kind of a foodie. The real character started his business as a food truck owner and sort of got involved in the sort of mob family world.
You're also an exec producer on this, right?
Yes, yeah.
Why, Andy, do we love Mafia movies? Why?
I get that question. I've just gotten that question a lot. I think it's embedded in sort of like the tapestry of American film, you know, as a genre, since the days of Paul Muni and Edward G. Robinson and Bogart and Cagney. And of course, later on, movies like The Godfather and Goodfellas and all these movies have really opened up a window into the lives of these individuals that we find fascinating, you know.
You're Cuban.
Yes.
Do you like playing Italians?
I like playing.
You like playing, period. The two kids are wonderful.
Wonderful, great chemistry they have. And Nina Arianda and Michael Pitt, yeah, who played the two characters, have a beautiful chemistry in the film. And it has that sort of spirit like the Bonnie and Clyde film had, you know, this kind of like live fast, die young kind of love affair, you know.
Your character he's a mafia chieftain, but he's kind of a softie, right? I mean, we like him. Well, I liked him.
Yeah, me too. You know, we wanted to explore, you know, what happens to a man that kind of gets into it secondhand, that didn't even want to be in that world. He started as a courier, kind of, because he had a food truck and he moved around the city in his food truck. So he started delivering some manila envelopes, and slowly he got some money for that, more money than he was making as a food truck operator. He buys his kid a bicycle. He feels like his family. He's providing for his family. So he kind of gets sucked into it. And if you're a man it's kind of like once you've decided to cross that line, he thinks that he is getting into it to protect his family and to provide for his family, but ultimately his family is destroyed because of it, you know.
There is a thin line between bad and good in this film. I mean, you like bad people. I like the kids shooting up the clubs.
Yeah. No, it is. It does explore the sort of the moral ambiguity of the whole thing, you know.
And using Ray Romano in an off-comedy role.
Yes, fantastic. He's great in the film. Well, Ray's such a natural and grounded and truthful actor, even in his comedy, which is why his comedy is so effective, you know.
Yeah. Who directed?
Raymond D. Felita, who came to me about to explore this thing. We had done a movie called City Island together that we both produced also.
Great movie.
And he said, I have this project, and the role was underdeveloped, but he said, I have an idea to develop it with you. And we began to spitball, and we did some writing together with the writer and created this arc.
Looking at your own career, I know you a long time, and it fascinates me.
Well, I knew you before you knew me.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah, because of Miami Beach.
Miami, I was king of Miami once.
Yeah. And I was one of the loyal servants. You know?
But I always thought Andy Garcia is above the title. Did you feel that way, or did you always think character actor?
I've always been a character actor. Listen, you're blessed as an actor just to have any kind of career. As you know, it's a difficult thing to sustain because there's just not enough work for everybody. But I always approached it as a character actor, and you know, I had the blessing to play leading men along my career. But to me, I approach them as a character actor. You know.
How do you view your career?
It's the exact career that I dreamed of. You know. I've been blessed that I've had the ability to fulfill my dreams. I'm still dreaming.
Do you ever do theater?
Not for many years, many.
But you have done it.
Yes, yes.
Didn't you like theater? I would think that the actor would.
I love the theater. The thing was, you know, I have 4 kids, and the opportunities I've had to go to New York and do theater in New York, which I still want to do. My kids were young and they were in school, and I just didn't want to pull them out of school and uproot them, and I didn't want to be away from them for a long period of time. So it was really more, Larry, I wake up as a father first, not as an actor. So you have to, as you know, you make decisions based at first as a father, how it affects your family. You know, in some gigs, even though you want to do them, you can't be selfish and say, okay, I'll see you later, I'll see you in 4 months. You know, you just can't do that, so.
Rob the Mob, it opens Friday, March 21st. It's a terrific movie. It's an independent movie, but I think it's going to do super. From Andy Garcia's roots to where he was the day The Godfather was released. You're going to like this when we get back. We're back with Andy Garcia. He stars in Rob the Mob. It'll be in theaters Friday, March 21st. And it's a truly great movie. You're going to love it. You left Cuba involuntarily. You left when?
My father and mother took us out, my brother and my sister. It was a family of 5, plus a grandmother, 6, 61 and a half.
2 years after Castro, right?
2.5 years, yeah, almost 2.5 years.
How did you get out?
There were still some visas that you can apply for to get out. They hadn't completely shut down the country. And we came out first, and my father stayed behind. And then he came to see us. He came out, and he was going to go back one more time. And we got a call from my mother's parents, who were still in Cuba. And we got a call in Miami. He says, tell Rene, my father, not to come back because they came looking for him.
How old were you when you left?
5.5. So
you remember it?
Oh, yeah, very much. Yeah. Well, you have a collection. I think what happens, I try to analyze that. You have when you're 5 to 10, let's say, you have these very vivid memories. I think it came to a point around that time when I realized Miami Beach was not a vacation. We weren't going away for a vacation, you know, that it was not going to be that easy to get back. And I think there's a mechanism that happens, I think, to all exiles, that you take those memories that you have and you protect them and you nurture them and make sure you never forget them, because that's all you got, you know.
We've spoken about this in the past. There's a big movement to open up the doors already to Cuba. Mm-hmm. You've always opposed that. Do you still oppose it?
No, I
normalization of relations.
Well, really the issue with Cuba is an internal problem. It's got nothing to do with the United States. People have been sort of fed this idea that Cuba's problems is America. You know what I mean? That the embargo is the evil embargo to the north. The reality is that the first guy who wants the embargo in place is Castro and his regime, because then he can continue to point the finger as though we're responsible for the destruction of that country. for the past 20 years at least, 40% of all the products that go to Cuba come from the United States to this day. You know, the farmers, even the black beans come from the United States, which is the great irony, right? But so the problem, there's an embargo of human rights in Cuba and of freedoms, as you know. So what has to change in Cuba is internally, you know. Cuba trades with the entire world. So why is America the problem in Cuba? It's not. We're just the guy he points to.
But you wouldn't favor us opening up those, changing the...
I feel that it's been a chess game throughout many, many years where Castro always says the embargo, the embargo, the embargo. If America would have lifted the embargo, he would have no one to point his finger at, you know. But my feeling is that what he would do, even if today they would say, okay, we're lifting the embargo, he would say, oh, it's a CIA plot to overthrow Cuba. You know what I mean? He would spin it. No, there's nothing to trust in the Castro brothers. I must say, if you try to engage in any kind of situation with them, you're going to get the rug pulled out.
Have you been back to Havana at all?
No.
I went there 3 years ago trying to get an interview with him. It's a beautiful island.
It's a beautiful island.
I had no idea how beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful island that's been completely destroyed, really, by that reason.
Sad. All right. I've been told that you took your first acting class the day The Godfather was released.
The same year, I would say. I think it was 72, yeah. And I just said, that's what I want to do with my life. I want to somehow be in that movie. I want to do that kind of work with my life if I can, and that was my dream, basically.
You had no idea you'd be in Godfather III.
No, I did not. It was just a dream, you know.
That movie failed or worked, depending on your perspective, but for you, it was a giant breakthrough for you, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a huge honor. You kidding? I mean, again, you know, I was associated with, you know, to me, the greatest movie I ever made was Godfather I, and I would say 2 is second right to it. So first of all, to even try it, the third was a huge privilege to even be in it, you know. And to this day, it's you know, the greatest experience I've ever had, you know, being with Francis and
I've gotten very close to Al, and Al loved working with you, and he's very funny, you know. People don't know that about him.
Oh, he's hilarious.
What was it like to work with him?
Oh, he was so generous. I mean, Al is, you know, as you say, he's like a clown, you know, but he's so generous. He was really he's extremely warm-hearted. He's an extraordinarily dedicated artist. I see him as a throwback to the artists like Modigliani and that era of artists that were completely consumed and dedicated to their art. That's how I see Al. You know, he's that kind of guy. He would love for me to read to him. He'd say, oh, read for me. You're going to read to me. And he would love the voice. You know, he liked to hear stories and read. And he'd always say, what are you doing tonight? We're going to have dinner, right? Tonight we're going to have dinner.
He loves that.
Right? So, yeah, of course we're going to have dinner. You know, he was my Uncle Al. So, you know, so we spent a lot of time together. And I think what he was doing, and I think what we were doing together, was to establish his connection off camera. So when the cameras rolled, we didn't have to do anything because it was already there, you know. And that's a great thing. That's the beauty of his thing, that he was creating the space and the relationship. We had the relationship already going, you know. We took a long time. The movie took 5-6 months to shoot. So.
Did you have to test for that movie?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the studio, Mr. Mancuso, Frank Mancuso Sr. was in my corner. He approached me while I was doing internal affairs for the studio, said, what are you doing in September? I want to talk to Francis. I'd like you to play Vincent, you know. And I said, well, I'll check my schedule. I'll get back to you.
By the way.
But it was a long process from May to September. And eventually I went in to test. I was the last guy to test. And then I tested on a Friday, and I got a call Saturday that I got the job, and I started rehearsal Monday.
You glossed over it, but Internal Affairs was a hell of a movie.
Yeah, beautiful film, yeah.
Gere, right?
Yeah, Richard Gere.
Playing a really bad guy.
Yeah, he was great. Yeah.
And you were the good guy. From Hemingway to King of the Bluebirds. More with Andy Garcia when we return. We're back with Andy Garcia. Rob the Mob opens Friday, March 21st. You will love this movie, and you are great in this movie.
Thank you.
Tell me about the recently romantic comedy At Middleton.
It opened day and date, that no kind of releasing where they put it in the theater and video on demand on the same day. So it's out on video on demand now. It's a movie.
Does that mean it's not good?
No.
What does it mean?
I think it means it's a new way of distributing movies. You know, the cost of advertising today is so immense. And so some distributors have discovered this new way of introducing films to an audience, you know, and they'll release it in 15 markets sort of like an art house type of release, and simultaneously on video on demand, premium video on demand, on the same night. It sort of premieres in both places, you know.
Do you like directing too?
I didn't direct that film. I produced it.
When you directed Lost in the City,
The Lost City I directed, yeah, which was a very personal film.
That was close to home, wasn't it?
Very close to home, yeah. Because it was about the time, what happens to a Cuban family during the change in the revolution, you know, the Castro's takeover.
You like directing?
Very much.
Not only do you star and direct the film, you also composed the score and wrote the soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
So when did the music come into the Garcia story?
Well, it's always been my first love. I think, you know, from a very early age, I studied percussion, and then later on, I got involved with a extraordinary man by the name of Israel Lopez, known as Cachao, who was the father of the mambo, and I started doing documentaries about him and started recording him. And
wasn't Tito Puente, huh?
No, it
wasn't Machito.
No, no. The original mambo was composed by Cachao and his brother Orestes in 1938, and I just did actually a film for the internet called Mi Maestro for the Martel people about our relationship. And basically it was composed for a danzón orchestra, which was a string orchestra. So the mambo beat, which was, you know, dan da ding dan don ding 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 da dan da ding, was done on strings. Later on in the 50s, Pérez Prado, Machito in the 40s with Mario Bauza, Tito Puente in the 50s, they took the concept of the mambo and orchestrated it to a big band.
It's great music.
And that's what became sort of like as Cachao always said, Pérez Prado is the king of the mambo. Me and my brother are the fathers.
Tell me about this upcoming project, Hemingway and Fuentes. What is that?
It's a movie I wrote with Hillary Hemingway, Ernest's niece, that I'm also going to direct. And it basically takes place around the last 10 years of his life in Cuba while he wrote The Old Man and the Sea, and the ramifications of what happened to him once he wrote it, the making of The Old Man and the Sea with Spencer Tracy, and his eventual death.
It's about the making of the movie?
That's incorporated in the story. But
you play Hemingway?
No, John Voight.
Oh.
And also Annette Bening has been attached to play Mary Welsh. I'll be playing the captain of his boat, Gregorio Fuentes, which was a relationship that spanned 20 years.
Hemingway spent a lot of time in Cuba.
20 years. The last 20 years of his life.
Wrote about the bullfights too, right? Or that was in Mexico.
No, that was in Spain. But he'd go like in the summer. His last summer of his life, he went for where he wrote that book, The Dangerous Summer.
You're also the voice in the upcoming animated film Rio 2. You're Eduardo, king of the bluebirds. You're a bird.
I'm a bird.
When you do an anime, I did Shrek. I did The Ugly Stepsister.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I sat in a room and you directed. I mean, this is a director standing there doing your.
Sometimes there's some sketches, some stuff they break down.
You got to do the movements. Do you enjoy that? I liked it.
Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, when do you get to play the king of the parrots? You know.
It is acting.
Oh yeah. In fact, some of the scenes I did with Anne Hathaway, who plays my daughter. We actually did together. Sometimes you're alone.
No one was together.
No, sometimes you're alone, but sometimes, you know, some scenes we did together. And then we redid them alone. It's like.
Well, what kind of voice do you get for a parrot?
No, they don't want you to do a voice. They want people to recognize Larry King.
Yeah, I did my regular voice.
They don't
so
want.
you did Garcia's voice. You were a bird, but as Andy Garcia.
Exactly, and somehow they catch your persona and they incorporate it in the face. You know, they're shooting you with a camera at the same time they're recording you. So if you do something, you know, they kind of incorporate it.
They want movement.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the Ocean's movies?
Oh yeah.
You were a villain.
Yeah, very much. It was a good group of guys. It was a lot of fun.
That's a Clooney, Pitt. Those are regular guys, right?
Regular.
One thing about George Clooney, he's got no heirs, right? He got no followers. People don't follow him around. You know, he got no. He's just his own guy.
Yeah, he's a terrific guy. He's a good egg, as they say. You know, I really have a lot of admiration for him and for Brad and for Matt Damon. Don Cheadle, I mean, all the guys in the movie, Affleck, you know, Khan, they were really good guys. I think they cast the people they wanted in the movie.
When you're doing it, is it serious or are you fooling around all the time?
They're fooling around a lot. You know, I was kind of like the guy on the outside. I was the nemesis, you know.
You're the hotel owner.
So when I was working, I was in character. But, you know, once we stopped, and then you're on.
Al did one of them too, right?
Yeah, and I worked on a scene with Al. We had one scene in that. I think it was a 3, right? Yeah, in 3 we had one scene together. It was great to.
13.
Yeah, I know. It was great to see him and to get a chance to work with him again, you know.
So you're always looking for things. You know, now that the kids are grown, would you do theater?
I have a 12-year-old. Boy, I started
So you
again.
still won't do it?
Yeah. No, I'd like to do it. I just got to figure out, how to plan it around his life. It's everything for me is, how do I try to plan around his life, I try not to want to take him out of school. They get into their thing, and they got their basketball league and they got their friends and they got their schools and
Did they go to school in Miami?
No, they grow here in Los Angeles.
So you live here and there?
Yeah. I just have a second home there.
Andy Garcia, one of my favorite people. In the remaining moments, we'll answer your social media questions. Don't go away. We're back with Andy Garcia. He stars in Rob the Mob. Terrific movie and great cast. Coming Friday, March 21st. Did you propose to your wife the first day you met her?
Yeah.
Why did you do that, Andy?
Well, you should have seen my wife.
Where was this?
It was in Coconut Grove at a bar, disco kind of place called Honey for the Bears.
You walked in, she was at the bar, or you were at the bar?
She was sitting on a couch. She was the sister of a friend of mine. And they'd been saying to me, go, you got to meet my sister, you got to meet my sister. Oh, you got to meet my sister. So I met her sister. I saw her from a distance, and as soon as I saw her, I said, oh, God, I'm dead. I sat down with her that night, and we talked, and I proposed to her.
Did she accept?
Yes, she did.
That night?
Yeah.
Were you already a movie star?
No, I was 21 years old.
Okay, here's some questions, social media questions. Andres on Twitter. What has been your biggest challenge as a filmmaker?
Well, financing.
Yeah.
The financing of an independent movie. The Lost City took me 16 years. Hemingway, I'm into it about 4 years now.
James Ethan Clark tweets, what was your inspiration for the character in New York, I Love You? He said it was brilliant.
Oh, thank you. I don't remember. There was a script, but I couldn't.
Who did you play?
I don't remember.
I don't remember it either.
It was just a guy there. I forget to tell you the
That's
truth.
great when you forget.
I forget.
Mark Rivera on Facebook wants to know what your favorite Cuban dish is.
Oh, my favorite is basically a dish that's like peasant food, which is basically white rice with 2, 3. The more eggs, the better, but 2 at least. Fried in olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, with fried bananas on the side. That's it. When you mix it all together, it's like a Cuban carbonara kind of thing.
At Pinky Francisco, one tweets, what's the most frequent question people ask you?
When is Godfather IV?
There'll never be a God. Will there or will there?
Who knows, but that's the most frequent question I get.
Do you dislike it when people say you're the most successful Hispanic actor ever?
I'm honored they would say that. I don't like hyphenations, though, because I don't think actors should be hyphenated by their ethnic background. Because you're one of the greatest, talk show hosts, whatever you want to describe this. You've done so many things in the history of television, but you're not one of the greatest Jewish talk show hosts.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So the hyphenation, I think, is a way of qualifying. But I understand the
meaning is well meant.
The meaning is well meant. I understand.
Swamillion wants to know, if there's a Godfather IV, who would Andy Garcia be?
Well, I'd be the Godfather for sure.
You'd have to be the Godfather, yeah.
Technically, I'm already the Godfather. It was the family was handed to me.
Correct.
So
there could be a Godfather IV.
It almost happened. There was a moment there that Francis flirted with it, and he wanted Paramount to engage in Mario in the story, and Mario passed away. And I was indirectly involved in a little bit with that because Leo DiCaprio was going to play a young son. He was going to go back in time, and then maybe, as Francis said,
still work.
Do my story and a backstory. But it's really Francis. He has to want to revisit that world, and he's never really wanted to do that.
Another great thing about The Godfather was the music.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Okay, we play a little game. If you only knew, I just throw it out, you answer. Who's the first girl you ever kissed?
Susie.
How old were you?
Elementary school.
In America?
Sure. Oh, in Cuba, I don't remember in Cuba, no. In America.
You remember what happened to Susie?
No, I don't know where she's at.
Most memorable role?
Well, I would have to go with Vincent Corleone.
Actor, director, or composer, which of the three would you can only do one of the three the rest of your life?
Wow. I would say act, because I could do more of it.
Favorite album of all time?
Any Cachao album.
First concert you ever went to?
That I can recall,
Probably in Miami.
In Miami Beach, live concert. But I know that I have a feeling, I talk about this in the movie I just recently did on Cachao, called Me Maestro for the internet, with Martel. I think I saw Cachao. He used to play, my father used to book him at the social club in Bejucal, his hometown. He was the president of the social club. And he told me he used to book Cachao there with his band, the Arcaño band. It was Arcaño.
It must have been that.
And I think I probably used to see him in the sound checks there, because that's why I maybe responded to his music when I first heard it, as in exile. So I'm thinking that probably was the first thing that affected me.
Do you have a crazy audition story?
Oh, probably, yes, many. I remember very early on, there was a woman who I went in there and said, and she kind of saw me, the casting director, and she said, can you take off your shirt, please? And I said, what? He said, may you take off your shirt, please? Before I even read the part. And I said, why? He said, well, with this part, it needs, we're looking for someone that's well built. So I looked at it and I said, you first. So that didn't go very well for me.
Favorite vacation spot?
Well, anywhere in the Caribbean, the Bahamas. If I can't go to Cuba, I try to
Be close.
Be close. Miami, obviously, it's a town I grew up in. I still have a home there.
Performance you're most proudest of?
Oh. Well, I always go back to The Godfather, because that was it's like it was a thing that was
Breakthrough.
very, yeah, and it's like I said.
Most embarrassing moment on set?
I try to have as many embarrassing moments as possible and let the camera catch it.
What 3 things would you want to be with you on a desert island?
It'd have to be more like 5 things.
Okay.
Because me and my family.
Okay, that counts. Mm-hmm. Who's your hero?
My father and mother.
What role are you most identified with?
I think it depends on I always say women, when a man loves a woman.
That was a great.
Men, I would say The Godfather.
Andy, you're the best.
Thank you.
Andy Garcia, we want to thank him very much for being with us. Make sure to catch him in Rob the Mob in theaters on Friday, March 21st, and you can find me on Twitter at King's Things, and I'll see you next time.